I mean, look how lucky I am. First time I find myself on a boat with somebody like you, it turns out to be you. At any gambling casino, from Monte Carlo to Reno, they tell you that a beginner comes out a winner. Beginner fishing for flounder will catch a 17-pounder. That's what I've always heard and always thought absurd, but now I believe every word. For I've got beginner's luck. The first time that I'm in love with you. Gosh, I'm lucky.
Isn't that good stuff? Beginner's luck. It makes you happy when it's you, right? But when it's someone else, sometimes it gets you, doesn't it? So, my son has been killing it trading lately. So, my son has been getting interested in Bitcoin. Bitcoin, for those of you who don't know, is basically just magic internet money, but you can trade it. And it's been going crazy lately, reaching all-time highs. And I've got my son interested in trading. And talk about beginner's luck, not just with Bitcoin, but with all of the coins that he's been trading. That kid can find winners, and it's uncanny, and it's difficult to watch. I've been trading for almost 3 years, and watching him get in there and just kill it. It's tough to watch. I'm excited for him though, and I'm really glad that he's found something that he's good at least so far. So what is luck, right? What is luck anyway? How about this? Yep, living under Chris's knowledge. Apparently not, because I haven't been that lucky. How about this? I think it's probably closer to this. Yeah, I think that's what it really is. LUCK, living under correct knowledge. Because when you know what you're doing based on what you see, you're probably lucky, right? What do athletes say? I'm not sure who came up with this phrase, but luck favors the prepared, right? When you're prepared with the right knowledge and you know what you're doing because you've studied it and you've pretty much figured something out, you probably got a lot of luck. But sometimes you can study something for a long time, something that you really dedicated a lot of time to, and someone like my son can come in with zero experience and blow me out of the water with his skills, supposed skills. So here we were on a trade right here. So this is a chart of this token that has just been flying. And so we get in to trade this about right here, right at $1 the other day. $1.15. And of course he says, he calls me up and says, I think I want to get in here and trade a substantial amount. I'm just going to ride this. I mean, that was right there when he said that. And I thought, well, he may be onto something. And so he puts in for a really good sized position. And I decide, well, I'll wait a little bit. So I wait. And I wait a little bit. And so I get in right here, a little bit higher than he did. And I get up to this point here. Of course, you can't see that big peak right there, so you don't know where it's going to go. But, you know, it's been flying. I mean, it had been trading. I mean, it's been 134%. in the last 7 days. And as of yesterday, it was over 200% in just a few days. So, you don't know where it's going to turn around, come back down and do one of these, right? Well, so I decided it would be a good idea to get out about right here, because, it could come down and do one of these. So he waits and waits and waits and waits and gets out, about right here, just after it starts to come down. And he did very well. And so, yeah, beginner's luck, right? So some of luck is just perspective, I think. It's looking at things with fresh eyes. And I've been looking at this, and I see a lot of things, and maybe there are a lot of things that I'm looking at that are clouding my view, and I can't really see what I want to see. Or the thing that's obvious that he sees, because he comes in here and he sees, hey, this thing's flying. So perspective. So I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking about what that might mean for me. Not just trading, but what did Robin Williams say? How many of you seen Dead Poet Society? What a great movie. Remember that scene where he hops on the desk? I got to show that to you real quick here. Fun stuff.
Why do I stand up here? Anybody?
To feel taller.
No. Thank you for playing, Mr. Dalton. I stand upon my desk to remind myself that we must constantly look at things in a different way. See, the world looks very different from up here. You don't believe me? Come see for yourselves. Come on. Come on. Just when you think you know something, you have to look at it in another way, even though it may seem silly or wrong.
Yeah, even though it may seem silly or wrong. So, hey kid, it's a little bit risky, but I've been doing this a while, but maybe it's not so wrong to look at it from fresh eyes, from someone else. Everyone's got their own unique set of gifts, and we start to get in trouble when we start looking at ourselves as maybe a little more important than we really are, maybe. I've been doing this a while, and I should be able to figure this out probably a little better than you, because I'm pretty experienced. So I started thinking about some scripture, and a scripture came into my mind about thinking more highly about yourself than you should. And so I came to this passage in Romans. Paul was writing a letter, and it's an unbelievable book, Romans, full of knowledge for us. And he's writing in here a section about dedicating your lives to God. And he writes in here, I therefore urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercies, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices that are holy and pleasing to God, for this is the reasonable way for you to worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but continuously be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may be able to determine what God's will is, what is proper, pleasing, and perfect. So he's telling us that we need to be continuously transformed by the renewing of our minds. If our minds were already perfectly like Christ, we might not have to do this, but we're constantly getting off track or focusing on the things that maybe aren't the important things to focus on, especially being conformed to what the world would have us look at and do and behave like. And if we do this, it renews our minds. If we allow ourselves to be transformed by the renewing of our minds, we'll be able to determine what God's will is, what's proper, pleasing, and perfect. And he goes on to say, for by the grace given to me, I ask every one of you not to think of yourself more highly than you ought to think. Rather, to think of yourself with sober judgment on the measure of faith that God has assigned each of you. For we have many parts in one body, but these parts do not all have the same function. In the same way, even though we are many people, we are one body in the Messiah, and individual parts connected to each other. We have different gifts based on the grace that was given to us. So we're all unique. Each of us has our own set of gifts, and it might be dangerous for us if we think that we're a little more important than we are. We might think of the gifts that we have might be more important than someone else's. But he's given everyone a set of gifts that he wants each of us to use. And so I started to think about this a little bit more, and I think really what it gets me to remember is that I'm not finished. I'm not a finished work. God is still working on me, and he's given me strengths. He's given me talents. He's given me gifts, spiritual gifts that he wants me to develop and perfect. And he's going to do that if I let him. One of the things about that is looking at other people to let them teach you. If you look at someone else who's doing something in a different way and they're having success with it, like my son, trading, I might think there might be something I need to learn from him. And that got me thinking that there are probably a lot of people that we have not learned enough from. We have a lot of things that we want to say, and there's a lot of important things that we want to tell someone. But it's easy for us to talk about ourselves, and it's easy to think about only the things that matter to us. But we miss out if we don't seek to learn from other people. And they might have something for us to learn. Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot. He repeats this over and over and over again. And I'm going to show you another quick video about what he says about that. Rule 9 in his 12 rules for life. He talks about assume people might know something that you don't. Listen to this real quick here.
And so the best example of this is when you're having an argument with your intimate partner, let's say. It's like, because you're going to want to win. And then, especially if you get angry, because anger wants to win. It's okay. So then you got to think, okay, well, wait a second. We better sort out what winning means here. So let's say that you're more verbally fluent than your partner and more treacherous. So you can win. That doesn't mean you're right, first of all. That's a big problem. Mm-hmm. Winning when you're wrong is a really bad idea. Yeah. Because then you think you're right and you're not. And then, well, maybe the person can see things you can't, but can't verbalize them quite as well. It's like, well, you might want to listen, just because there's the possibility that they're trying to tell you how not to run headlong into a brick wall.
So I missed the first part of this.
Rule number 9, assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't.
Yes.
I have a little of that at the moment.
Yes. Well, that's what a good conversation is about. It's like, because what you want to do is you want to enter into a conversation so that you come out wiser than you went in. And so the best example of this is when you're having an argument with your intimate partner.
Okay, so that's where he goes into that. So assume that there's something that you need to learn, or that you could learn if you actually just were quiet for a second and stopped thinking about what you think and asked a few questions. You might actually learn something. But you have to go into it, you have to go into these conversations with that preset attitude, though, that there just may be something that person I'm going to maybe have a conflict with, or just hash something out with, that person might actually have something that they can teach me. And this is really powerful, because it can come from someone that you might not think should be telling you what to do and how to do it. In fact, that's probably the person that you'll gain the most from, is the person that you don't want to listen to. The person that you want to listen to the least, the person that you might even disdain, or you might have a sense of superiority over that person. I struggle with that sometimes. I think I know best, and that person doesn't have anything to offer me. But that's not true probably most of the time. If any of the time that I'm better than anyone else, pretty sure that it's not true. And if I were humble enough, then I would allow myself to assume maybe that that person that I might even look down on might have something important to show me or explain to me that I might learn from. So that's really what I wanted to share with you, because there's a lot of people speaking their opinions right now. There's a lot of people that have a lot of things to say, a lot of political things. We're stuck focusing on all sorts of political statements, and it seems like everywhere I go, people are talking about the beer bug. They're talking about rules that they don't agree with, or they're talking about things they don't want to wear in public, like that face covering. And they're talking about this leader that shouldn't have done that, and those groups of people that were stupid for doing that. And those kinds of conversations don't typically lead to anybody coming out the better, unless you take the opportunity to assume that someone that you're talking to might have something to teach you, and you might be able to learn something from them, and it might benefit you. So I hope you go with that as you talk with people, and as you anticipate arguments or anticipate disagreements with people. You might come out richer just learning something. And, then the next time, you might be able to ride the wave a little bit higher and profit a little bit better from something that you're attempting by trying it someone else's way. Someone who has fresh eyes and looks at things a little bit differently than you do. Hope that blesses you, and remember, God is on the throne and prayer changes things.